Encounter is a classic British film and stellar directorial debut for David Lean, released in the aftermath of World War II. The film tells the story of a suburban housewife, Laura, who meets a doctor, Alec, at a railway station by pure chance, and they embark on a forbidden love affair. The film is set in post-World War II Britain and reflects on the nuances of love, marriage, and desire. So in this video we will explore why, in my opinion, Brief Encounter is one of the great classic romantic films and why it is timeless. David Lean, a well-respected film editor in the industry by then, had his first experience as a director on the film In Which We Serve in 1942, sharing director duties with Noel Coward. Noel Coward and David Lean would subsequently collaborate again many times, with Lean adapting his plays into films. The third of them being Brief Encounter, earning the film 3 Oscar nominations. The film follows Laura, a middle-class housewife imagining confessing to an affair to her husband. Like many housewives at the time, Laura visited town every Thursday for shopping and goes to the cinema. On her return from such a day out, waiting at the railway station's refreshment room, a piece of grit from a passing train is lodged in her eye, and another passenger helps her to remove it. This turns out to be Alec Harvey, a general practitioner who also works as a consultant at a hospital in town, both married and with children. The two would by chance meet again outside a chemist, and then later sharing a table at lunch and going to the cinema together. Soon their casual and innocent time spent together starts to develop into something much more deeper. They eventually go to a flat belonging to Stephen, a friend of Alex and a fellow doctor, but are interrupted by Stephen's unexpected and judgmental return. Humiliated and ashamed, Laura runs down the back stairs and into the streets. She walks aimlessly for a while and sits on a bench for hours, smoking, until a concerned policeman encourages her to get out of the cold. She arrives at the station just in time for the last train home. The recent turn of events make the couple realize that an affair or a future together is impossible. Understanding the temptation and not wishing to hurt their families, they agree to part. Alec has been offered a job in Johannesburg, South Africa, and decides to go. As they await a heart-rending final parting, Dolly, a talkative acquaintance of Laura's, invites herself to join them and begins chattering away, oblivious to the couple's misery. As they realize that they have lost their chance for a final goodbye, Alec's train arrives, with Dolly still chattering away. After shaking Dolly's hand, he discreetly squeezes Laura on the shoulder and leaves. Laura waits for a moment, anxiously hoping that Alec will walk back into the refreshment room, but he does not. As the train is heard pulling away, Laura is galvanized by emotion and, hearing an approaching express train, dashes out to the platform. The train's lights flash across her face as she conquers a suicidal impulse. She then returns home to her family. The film's black and white cinematography and the combination of it with the setting of a dark, steamy and rather unromantic setting of a railway station not only creates an unique aesthetic but also places the romanticism between Laura and Alec in stark contrast to their environment. In the context of post-World War II Britain, Brief Encounter explores the theme of suppressed emotions and desires, a battle also between desire and obligation. The film portrays a society that was still struggling to come to terms with its trauma of the war and was focused on rebuilding and restoring the nation. This is reflected in the characters' internal struggles and their efforts to conform to societal norms expectations, and familial structures. Laura and Alec represent the epitome of what British society viewed as the correct roles for men and women, with Laura being a middle-class housewife and Alec being a doctor. Even more so highlighted by Laura's husband and family that is shown in the film as a major part to represent the idyllic British family structure, grounding her to her obligation to her family in contrast to her newfound love in Alec. This is also further solidified in how the film shows Laura's Thursday visits in town, almost exactly planned out every time, visiting the same shops and cinema. While this was common for most housewives during that period, this just aids the film showing the viewer the idyllic but rather monotonous life that she has. The narration by Laura and how she unfolds all the events creates a poignant and specific perspective for the film, giving it an unique structure and insight into Laura's thoughts and what made her make certain decisions. This, in my opinion, brings the audience closer to her as a character, but also provides a unique voice to the film. It also plays into the thought that such tribulations of love could happen to anyone. In addition to Laura's inner turmoil with herself, unfolding the events that have occurred with Alec as if telling it to her husband, which she is unable to do, the film explores the theme of loneliness and isolation in a post-World War II setting. Laura especially is represented as being disconnected from her family and friends, and the film portrays through her the challenges people face in finding meaningful connections in a rapidly changing society. One of the most notable aspects of Brief Encounter is the way it portrays the role of women in the post-war setting. The film was made in a time when women's roles were undergoing a significant transformation. After serving in the war effort and playing a vital role in keeping the home front running, many women were reluctant to return to their traditional roles as homemakers and caretakers. The character of Laura embodies this struggle as she is torn between her desire for love and affection and her commitment to her husband and family. In conclusion, Brief Encounter is a powerful film that reflects the cultural, social, and economic changes of the time, but also at its core, a hauntingly beautiful film about love, desire, and obligation. The film explores themes of suppressed emotions and desires, loneliness and isolation, and provides a nuanced and insightful look at a society in transition. In my opinion, the film is rather overlooked in David Lean's filmography, standing in the shadow of his later epics. With its beautiful black and white cinematography and stellar performances, it has truly stood the test of time. The film remains a classic of British cinema as far as I'm concerned, but also in my opinion at the top amongst the other classic romantic films in cinema history.